Dimmers come in very handy on set, especially for incandescent units. I had a comment on a previous video asking more about dimmers, so let's talk about them. Dimmers, or hand squeezers as sometimes we call them on set, are almost always used and they're very handy, especially on tungsten units. They simply go in between the line coming from the AC outlet from the wall and the line coming from your fixture. Simply rotate the knob 0 to 100 to get the desired intensity. I almost always have them on my tungsten units when I'm on set, even if I don't really need them. They're always good to have on and already ready in case the DP wants to take that unit down 25%. You can just run over, turn the knob, and it's done. Now, of course, when you dim down an incandescent unit, it's gonna warm up the color temperature depending on how much you dim, but that's a topic for another video. Dimming a tungsten unit is pretty easy, both physically turning it and the internals of the dimmer itself. This is an older style dimmer, commonly referred to as a leading edge dimmer. It's an older kind of model. It works well on incandescent units and halogen bulbs and some LEDs. Incandescent dimmers are simple. You basically dim down, increasing the resistance to the unit and lowering the overall light output. More resistance, less output. Now, as you dim down, you do slightly decrease the voltage, but the extra voltage not needed in power gets burned off as heat by the lamp anyways. And as incandescents go, over 50% of the actual current coming into the light is exhausted as just heat from the unit. That's why for a tungsten incandescent filament light, you're gonna need a lot of watts to compare it to an HMI or a LED fixture. Half of the power basically goes to waste. Now, trying to dim an LED in the same kind of fashion can be a bit challenging just because of the way they work. But first, let's talk about how dimmers actually work. Dimmers work by switching the light on and off very quickly, and the amount of delay in between defines how bright the light is. Just like your home computer screen that's a 60 Hertz refresh rate, it's alternating on and off, but to our eye, we perceive it as a constant light source because it's so fast. Now, almost all of the new LED fixtures have a dimmer built in, but sometimes you just have a bare LED bulb that you want to put in a practical, let's say, and you might want to have that on a dimmer. But to dim LEDs properly, they need a built-in special circuit, or as I call it, a ballast, that helps regulate the flow of electricity as you dim. All LED lights labeled dimmable already have this type of function built in. This circuit helps drop down the voltage to something more suitable for the LED diode and helps protect the diode from taking too much current and burning out the bulb. A lot of the extra current, again, is released as heat, and that's why if you have a dimmer switch at home dimmed all the way down, they tend to heat up quite a lot on the panel itself. Now, trying to put an LED bulb that's dimmable on the older style leading edge dimmer can be a little problematic. Typically, once you dim down below 25%, you start to get some really bad flickering, or you just lose output altogether at that level, even with a dimmable bulb. It's not for all LED bulbs, but in my experience, most of them don't tend to do very well. So dimming an LED with the older type of dimmer is possible, but you just have to watch out for flickering because you really don't want that on camera. Now, if the bulb is not dimmable, you run the risk of just burning out the bulb because there's nothing there to regulate the current coming in. When you dim down a LED that's not dimmable, you're basically on and offing the light multiple times a second at the full current. The current has nowhere to go, heating up the diode, and it could blow the bulb in a second, maybe a couple minutes or a couple days, you don't know. Generally not the best way to do it, but if you had to get by in a pinch on set, it can work. Now, if you really want to dim an LED bulb properly, you're gonna need an LED specific dimmer. These are called trailing edge dimmers and are the newer type of dimmer. They work with all incandescent halogen fixtures and pretty much all LEDs, and you can find them at your local Home Depot or Lowe's, any kind of local hardware store. They're pretty cheap, but they usually come in lower wattages, like 300 or 150, so trying to use it on a larger tungsten unit is not gonna work. But let's be honest, most of the times now on set, we're using the Aperture B7Cs or the Astera equivalent on set. They're fully dimmable all the way down to 0 with no flicker, and they have RGB capabilities. I use them quite a bit, but I still like to use tungsten practicals when possible. The color quality is just superb, and if I need to cool down the temperature, I can just throw a little bit of 1/8 or 1/4 CTB over the bulb itself. And side note, trying to find actual incandescent bulbs like 40 or 60 watt is getting pretty hard to do at the local store. They always seem to hide it on the bottom shelf, or sometimes some of these hardware stores don't even carry them anymore. Or they use the LED tungsten type, which is still LED, but it looks like a tungsten, so you can get kind of thrown off. Luckily, Bulb America still carries a lot of these older bulbs, like for the Mole Richardsons and other units. So if you're looking to get some older type of globes, they're a great resource online to buy from. Now, for dimmers that I would recommend to buy, the first one would be this Impact 1000 watt AC dimmer. Now, I'm not a big fan of Impact stuff. It's kind of cheap. It's kind of like Chinese made. But for small stuff like dimmers and baby pins and whatnot, it's actually really good. I've used these quite a bit before. They're a great price, and they're up to 1000 watts, which is nice. The only downside is it's not the most durable, but as long as you're not throwing it around anywhere, they're pretty good. For a little bit higher quality one would be this Film Tools 1000 watt hand dimmer. It's a little bit better made, probably gonna last you longer, but it's almost double the price. So kind of up to you. Now, if you just wanted something for a small practical light, you don't need something like this. You can get a small dimmer. And here's a great one for 15 bucks at Home Depot. It's good for LED, halogen, and incandescent. It's only rated for 150 watts, so as long as you're under that, then it'll be fine. So anything up to usually 1,000 watts are covered. You can get into 2K dimmers, but that's usually the max. If you want anything over that, you start getting into actual dimmer packs and rat pack dimmers, which can get very expensive very quickly. In my next video, we'll be taking a look at how to make your own DIY 2K dimmer on a budget. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give me a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. We'll see you next week.